Hey guys, I'm Bryson here, and welcome to the Tommy Bryson Show. And by the way, it's pretty obvious that so far I have been obsessed with watching these videos about average people becoming millionaires in less than 5 years, or 10 years, or 20 years. It doesn't really matter, but the point is average people fixing their lives and then going ahead and becoming millionaires. To me, that sounds amazing. To me, it sounds awesome. Now, to me, I have no idea why I'm wearing a headphone when in reality, I'm going to be reacting to a full-blown video here, okay? However, just ignore the headphone because, hey, it's no longer there. Now, let's get started, guys. By the way, if you're new here, I post videos every single day. And on top of that, also like, subscribe, hit the bell, shit notified, and also destroy the like button. I said that twice, but you guys know the vibes. Let's get right into this video. Now, this video is going to be awesome. So let's get into it. You know, guys, honestly, whenever I saw a kid, I love kids, but whenever I thought about having a kid, it would just scare the heck out of me. You know why? Because growing up, I always saw kids as being like this thing that you don't want to have. You know, like if we got a kid in my high school, I was like, okay, they're done. You know, but when you have a kid at the right age, under the right circumstances, you're good to go. It becomes a blessing. So I'm actually looking forward to having a kid. And my mentality has changed a lot. But before, it used to scare the heck out of me, even thinking about having a kid.
So my name is Vivian, and I came after Mommy and Daddy paid off all of that debt.
By the way, I love how sometimes like parents, like they act like their kids like can understand everything they say. I think it's cute. Don't get me wrong, but I heard about this about this couple teaching their like 1 to 2 year old how to do sign language that early. To me, it sounded insane. Okay, and they said, yeah, she understands everything, but can a baby at that age really understand sign language? I don't know.
In person.
By the way, it was optional. It wasn't like the baby had like a problem, and it was optional. It was optional, by the way.
Anything we talked about? Is any of this good, or?
No.
Is it okay if he's not in the shot, or should I just wait?
Yeah, so they had to take away the baby, obviously, because that baby is just all over the place. You're asking that baby to focus in with all them lights around, with that guy she doesn't recognize. It's a lot to ask for my baby, so I'm not that upset about it. But I don't like babies screaming, for example, on the plane. I don't like that at all.
Okay.
I'm Aaron Littles, and this is my awesome wife, Madeline Littles. And
I love those last names, you know, like those last names, like Littles, like Brown, White, like those weird last names are just like so simple, but it's pretty cool. By the way, this family, Aaron and Madeline, are actually from Tampa, Florida. I had plans to go in there, but in reality, I kind of shut it down because I want to save taxes in Puerto Rico, but we'll see what happens with that whole like on Puerto Rico thing.
we are coming to you from Tampa, Florida. I didn't learn a lot about money growing up. I just knew that we didn't always have enough.
I think we all grew up with like some form of money insecurity, even when you have a lot of money, because there's always something you actually want but don't have. But I wish I grew up with, like, I don't care if I grew up with money or no money. What I care about the most, like, I grew up without the knowledge of any money whatsoever. And whether you have a lot of it or a little bit of it, right? It goes a long way when your parents explain to you how money works. But how do you have someone explain you money when nobody taught them about money either? That's why it's so important to change that, right? So if you're gonna have kids, tell them all about money. Teach them everything you know. It's very wonderful.
Upbringing where I knew I wanted to have more, but I didn't know how. And so I went into the Marine Corps after graduating from the Naval Academy, and they just load you up
Oh, this guy's a hero, man.
with credit cards to get you on your way and start.
Yeah. By the way, credit card companies are everywhere. In the Navy, in the Army, SEALs, college, everywhere. Like when you go to the store, Best Buy, Gap, everyone has a credit card. The goal is, how can we get this person to go into massive debt, right? And it's all about, oh, we'll give you a bonus. Oh, we'll give you a discount. It's like all those little things just to get you to taste. And once you get a taste of it, it's very hard to go back. So I'm not surprised here, man. I'm not surprised at all. People usually got to mess up to then learn their lesson. But I wish that there was just information out there so you don't got to go out there and mess up. Like, if I knew what I knew today, I would not be going out there and getting into a massive amount of debt and all that stuff. I would have learned my lesson very early on.
Establishing your credit. And I did what Dave Ramsey said not to do, which was buy a house in every city you're stationed in. I look up and I have a good paying job. I'm serving my...
Wow. So he bought a house in every city he's stationed in? Wow, I didn't know this guy did that. But you know something? People always say this, like, get a credit card to build credit. But in reality, if you have a stable job, like 2 years of pay stubs, You don't need to have a credit card to build credit. The only way to build credit is by servicing debt, right? However, when you want to buy a house, they do like a manual underwriting. Basically, look at your income, your expenses, and they take a look at your financial worthiness from there. So you don't really need to have a credit card whatsoever to build credit. They can just do it manually, but it's a lot more easier to use your FICO score or your or what's Vantage score or all that stuff. But you don't really need a credit score whatsoever. They can do manual underwriting.
My country, but then I realized I'm way in the hole in real estate debt, and the recession started to happen, and renters started leaving, and then now I get.
Yeah, people make plans literally with like the best things in mind, right? Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's always gonna be fine. I'm just gonna get into massive debt. I'm gonna rent this out forever. Recession hits, now you can't. No rent, no tenants, and stuff like that. But yeah, statistics show that basically tenants actually go up during that time. They don't actually want to leave, right? But you're not always gonna be that lucky bunch, right? The idea is you want to make sure you're good overall, and don't take all this risk. Like for what, honestly?
Other credit card debt to just float these houses for a while. And I was like, this is not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, so imagine that now. Now he has a whole bunch of houses everywhere, has like tenants leaving, and now he has to use his credit cards to basically float things. I'm pretty sure he used like a little trick to pay the mortgage with the credit cards. That's possible, by the way. I have a full video on my main channel. It's possible, but is that advised? Is it advised to pay a mortgage and then pay 24% on it, basically with the credit card debt now? The answer is no. Obviously, it's a terrible idea.
And so that's when I hit my turning point to say, I've got to do something different.
Yeah, I think Dave says something. You change when you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? So yeah, I understand.
And then he met me. I took out loans to cover everything for grad school, including my housing.
By the way, people think this is normal. Everything is just normal. The only way to go to college is normal, right? I actually just bought a book on how to go to college, like 100% debt free. And the overall idea is basically you want to get a lot of scholarships and you want to go to school you can actually afford. And on top of that, you want to get a job while you're there and pay for school cash out of pocket. Like there's no need to go to fancy school. There's no need for any of that stuff. There's no need to dorm there whatsoever. But people love this stuff, right? Because guess what? At least you'll pay that money when you when you graduate, right? When you get that fancy job. But in reality, most people just keep that loan around like a pet, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy. Like you got to know what you're doing with this stuff.
Around $80,000. I was working for the government during the day,
and by the way, people love the idea of like, you know what? I'm gonna get 80K in debt or 100K in debt, work for the government, and after 10 years, I'm just gonna like they're just gonna basically like take away the debt, right? Like actually like forgive the debt. It's possible, but would I spend 10 years somewhere I hate to get rid of debt? No, it's miserable. Like 10 years of your time working a job you hate is not a good trade-off.
I was getting second jobs and side jobs at night, and instead of putting that money towards paying down the mountain of debt, I just apparently went shopping more.
Yeah. Again, guys, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. And every dollar you make needs a job. That's why I created the entire simple budget, where your money has 6 jobs. And if your money does these 6 jobs correctly, you won't get into a step of trouble, right? Because you need to be investing, you need to be saving, you need to do everything, right? So it's not just make more money, I'm good. No, you just make more money, now I'm shopping more, and before you know it, I want to buy a car, I can't afford it, so now I get into even more debt. Overall, bad.
When I helped Madeline calculate her individual budget, I think that kind of opened her eyes to see that she's working 2 jobs, but because of all the debt and the spending patterns, she was...
Yeah. Sometimes people don't know where they are until they kind of like sit down and just shut up for a second, I remember when I was like spending so much money and I had no idea about it. But when you sit down and you just like shut up and you're just like alone with your thoughts and with that piece of paper and the math is there, it hits home because you finally get to put everything that's up here just like shuffling around and the statements and all that stuff, right? You put it on paper and now you can actually see it visually and just absorb that. Sometimes you need to be like, you just need to be quiet, like, and just like see exactly what the facts are, and then you can see like, hey, there's a problem here. There's really a problem here.
In the negative every single month and not actually even at 0.
I knew that I needed to change something, but to see it all on paper like that was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, it's one thing is to have like a $0 net worth, but one thing is to have a negative net worth, and then one thing is to be like paycheck to paycheck, but one thing is to be on a negative paycheck to paycheck basis, right? That's when things go crazy, and people usually don't notice it because basically they put on the credit card over and over and over again, and then when it gets too high, that's when they're like, what?
He was like, oh, hey, here's this guy, he's gonna tell us how to get debt free, but you're gonna have to sell your car as soon as we get married. And I was not at all receptive to that.
Yeah. You know, a lot of I think it's all about, you gotta slow down, right? You gotta tell people things like slowly and be like, hey, here's everything. And by the way, people rush this marriage thing, right? Like, just get married, okay? Let's just hope you do everything. No, the answer is you gotta make sure that person's on the same page with you 100%, and then you go ahead and proceed. But getting married and then hoping that they actually take action on those things, it's very unlikely. So you want to make sure you guys are on the same page.
And he said, just listen to this podcast, and that's all I ask. And I was like, fine. And I listened to it. And it was a number of different families that called in and talked about how the
I love this story. You know, I love the story. I love it.
grass in their backyard felt much different because they had paid off their homes. And it resonated with.
Oh, look at that townhouse. Very nice house. This is also in Florida, by the way, Tampa, Florida. And by the way, all these people that have like this turning point and actually basically made a lot of money, got debt free, they'll have nice houses. Think about it, right? They're not like over here suffering. They're not over here living like under a rock. No, they have very nice houses, very nice lives. You know, the difference is they don't have any crazy debt.
With me. And so that was when I was like, okay, let's talk about this. Maybe we will sell my car. Hopefully we won't. But that was my turning point, really, because...
You know, my turning point was when one day I didn't have any money, and I came home, and I sat in my bed, and the closet was, like, open, guys, right? I was very prideful of my closet back then, and I saw all these clothes. It gives me like goosebumps. Look at this stuff, guys. Look, I have goosebumps or whatever. Like, it's very hard to see because of the whole, like video thing, but look at this. I literally have, like, goosebumps, like, talking about this stuff, right? Goosebumps or whatever. And I remember looking at my closet and I was like, I literally have 23, maybe more sneakers, a bunch of clothes, and I have no money. What the heck is going on? And ever since then, you know, that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to have to sell all this nonsense. I'm going to have to sell it. And it was painful, like selling all this stuff. People used to see me in school, like all this cool stuff. And all of a sudden, I don't have it anymore. And I sold everything. I kept a few sneakers of them, like the ones I really like and stuff like that. But, you know, even now, like I'm going to sell those too, because guess what? I only use 2 sneakers, you know, one for the gym and like one for like casual. That's it. Like, I don't need all those shoes, man, like at all. But that's when things changed for me. Broke, but look like I'm rich, right? Kind of stupid.
He changed his approach.
Once we got engaged, we got enrolled in the FPU as part of our premarital counseling.
FPU is Financial Peace University. That's the course by Dave Ramsey. I'm actually gonna, I want to take that course, you know. As you guys know, I'm working on my own course, but it's always important to see how people do things, like what you agree with, what you don't agree with. My goal is to always keep learning and growing. And that the only way to do that is to learn from the people that came before you and respect the knowledge that actually left before you, right? Like Dave Ramsey's still here. He's not dead, right? But it's important to understand like where he comes from everything. So I like it.
Sure enough, we did every single week and paid attention and saw the immediate transformation of having a zero-based budget and then starting to really pay down debt.
Yeah, if you don't have a budget, it's kind of like moving around, but you don't know what the heck everything. Like, it's like getting paid, but not knowing where the money's going. Having a budget like settles you down. Be like, okay, where is my money actually going? Let's make sure every dollar is being accounted for.
The first year we were getting out of debt, we paid off $35,000.
$35,000 in debt that they paid off. That's awesome.
Second year, I had an event planning business on the side, and then we were really sticking to the budget, using the envelope system, and we were actually...
I love envelopes, okay? Envelopes saved my life, honestly. Like that whole grandma, like whole traditional stuff, it saved my life, honestly. Like having envelopes, seeing that money build up and pile up, I was like, wow, this is actually working, you know? Because sometimes like when you look at it, for example, in a bank account, it's not the same thing. But when you look at it like actually like right there and it's like building up, you're like, oh wow, this thing is working, you know? This thing is working.
So you're coordinating and helping lead others. And so whenever you do that, you're always holding yourself accountable too, to making sure that you're following the program just as much as you're expecting other people to follow.
Yeah, whatever you teach, you gotta hold yourself accountable for it, right? So it's kind of like me coming on here and saying, hey, guys, go invest, but I don't invest anything. Guys, learn something, read a book, but I don't read anything, right? You gotta hold yourself accountable. You gotta hold yourself as if like the whole world's watching you 24/7, and you gotta take action on that. So I respect this a lot.
And so that second year, he paid off $75,000 in debt.
Wow. Second year, he paid off $75,000 extra in debt. So 75 plus 35, that means he paid us around $105,000. So that's awesome, honestly.
Madeline was able to leave a job that she didn't really enjoy.
Which is never something I ever...
By the way, the type of freedom you get when you can tell your wife, like, hey, if you want to come home, come home. right? You don't need to work that job if you don't like it. It's very good. It's a different type of feeling.
Considered because I thought I would be paying off my student loans until I was 50.
And that was the idea, right? She was like working the whole government job, hopefully to get the student loan forgiveness or whatever, maybe. But yeah, like doing it this way, now she gets to be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stay home. And by the way, the crazy thing is basically now she's not working that job, like probably staying at home. And guess what? She just spent all that money, or they spent all that money to fix that mess, but she's not even gonna use the degree most likely, right? That's the crazy thing about
what
it.
we've been able to do, and now people are coming up to us and saying, we saw you do it.
Yeah.
We know it's achievable.
The underlying is that they may find Jesus too, and they may get a
Yeah, I'm very religious also, man. But I agree also with the entire thing that sometimes people think that, you know, only these people I see on TV or YouTube or Instagram can actually achieve this stuff. No, normal people can achieve this stuff. And that's why it's so important to read books and hear all these stories from like normal average people like you and I. Because guess what? I'm not special, bro. I grew up with a single mom, like moving around all the time. Like statistically, I'm supposed to be like the biggest mess up ever, right? But I changed that by listening to people that came before me and respecting their knowledge. And that's all it takes, you know, like learning from what came. I think there's a quote that says, a man that doesn't know his history is like a baby walking around. Because you don't know where you came from, you don't know anything about anything, you don't know anything about money, it's just like you just like experience life for the first time. But in reality, there's such a record out there. You need to like accumulate all the knowledge, and then that way, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm living like an 80-year-old guy's life, because I've learned so much from people that are much older than me, and I don't have to make all those mistakes. So I feel like they have like this crazy advantage over everyone else, and that's what it is, you know. When you learn from people that came before you, you have that advantage that people don't have.
personal relationship, and that's always even more special for us.
We paid off $115,000 in 2.5 years.
That is awesome.
The vision of freedom at the end and the possibilities.
That is awesome, by the way. That is awesome. Visualization is key, but also taking action is key. I like people that visualize things, but I'm not a fan of like visualize, like that you're in a Lambo, but don't work for it, right? You gotta visualize and also put in the work to get where you want to go.
Of what our family could look like, what our family could do for the kingdom of God, and what we would be enabled to do was what kept us going.
By the way, the whole idea with the whole kingdom of God thing is usually that like God like allows you to make all this money, but it's not really yours, it belongs to God, obviously, and like you're the manager of all this wealth. So a part of it is yours to enjoy, and you're supposed to manage it correctly. And that's the whole idea. Like, be responsible with your money, not just for you, but like for whatever religion you're a part of.
Getting to the finish line was the goal, and we weren't going to stop. And she married a Marine, and we just don't quit. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I respect it a lot. I respect it a lot. Shout out to this guy, man. Mr. Littles.
Let's hear a debt-free scream.
3, 2, 1. We're debt-free!
I like that whole like Dave Ramsey thing with the whole like debt-free thing, man. It works, you know. It works. Like his system works. Is it the best one out there? The answer is no. Obviously, I'm building a better one. But it works. It works, and it works, and it works. And if things give you results, you gotta go for it. I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, you know what? Don't follow that. Come follow me, or follow me only. Don't. No. The whole goal as someone that learns and respects people's work is that you got to go out there and try what works best for you and figure out exactly what that's going to be. That's the way I see things. All right, so I guess that is the end of that. I don't know why they stopped making these videos, but I actually enjoy them a lot. Maybe they're like expensive, maybe they're like a little bit harder to actually get these people to actually be a part of it. But I actually like these videos a lot, guys. And overall, it's awesome to see someone. I remember like I always picture this, you know, because I never really had anyone around me to actually like, you know, tell me like, oh, go for this, go for this, go for this. But all of my mentors usually came from books, because most of them were like, you know, too far ahead for me to talk to them, right? And I remember this book. There was a story in The Richest Man in Babylon, and it was like this guy that used to work, for example, in the library, and he had to chip away every single day in tablets to actually write things, because back then there were no prints and anything like that, right? There was no books like this and paper to actually print things out. No, it's tablets, it was rocks. And this guy, one day, the rich guy comes out of nowhere and says, hey, yeah, what was the story? Okay, and then one day, basically, this guy's working there, right? And this rich guy that everybody knows comes into the library and says, hey, I want you to do this for me very quickly, like a tablet. Like I want it like in 2 days. And he says, okay, I'll do that if you teach me everything you know about money. In the end, he taught him everything he knew about money. He started practicing it, but every now and then, the rich guy used to come by to see this guy dig himself out of the darkness. And that's the way I saw myself when I was actually working so hard, right? So see, like, hey, I'm making all this progress, but I know someone out there is looking at me make this progress and is actually proud. Like all my mentors, I really appreciate that stuff, man. I get emotional about it sometimes too, but overall, I like these videos a lot. To see someone like dig themselves out of poverty, out of darkness, and then basically just come up to light and be like, okay, wow, it's a lot better up here. Like I can actually breathe up here, right? I like it a lot. So yeah, overall, I like this video a lot. Comment down below and let me know exactly what you want me to react to next. See you guys next time. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. On top of, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, join my Patreon, link down below, or send me a DM on Instagram at Tommy Bryson. And before I go, if you want to watch another video, here's that video right here. And click my face right here. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, peace.